Hiding Behind the Lipstick 3.0. I am your host, Ophelia Waters, and I am so glad to be speaking with you again on this segment. I first want to say Happy New Year to each of you. I have been away for a while, but couldn't stay gone, and I'm back. And tonight, while I'm doing this segment, I wanted to talk about with and without emotions in a man world because our men have been taught so many different things regarding emotions. But as you've listened to this broadcast before, and if you followed me, you know that most of the times I'm talking about women or girls and boys and men somewhere to a certain degree. But it is titled Hiding Behind the Lipstick. But I wanted to incorporate men into my segments because there is a need for them to hear some of the things that uh, God has put on my heart and placed in my mind and heart to share. So tonight I had run across some information that really piqued my interest rather. So today I want to talk to the men and the women, but this is for the men that have been conditioned to hide behind the mask of toxic masculinity. So tongue tied. Let me say it again. Men that have been conditioned to hide behind the mask of toxic masculinity. So here we go. Our men have been told to be the best that they can and to grow up to be men, but instead they are rigid and emotionless. This idea is toxic, and our young boys are encouraged to carry this misinformation on into their adulthood, even into their marriages and into their relationships, with the cycle never being broken. They teach their sons, don't you cry. But from little boys playing on the playground, they've been told, do not cry. You better suck it up. Big boys don't cry. So they on the playground. But big boys do cry. Grown men do cry. Now stick a pin right there because we're going to hear something about that later. And then they told don't cry by their mothers, other women in their lives, and most certainly their fathers, their dads, and their uncles that boys don't cry. Suck it up. Go on back out there and play. Then they leave the playground and they go to their teenage years with this same toxic male mentality that they are not supposed to show emotions. So they learn to keep their feelings bottled up inside of their heart, and their hearts become hard hearted and they become emotionless in the mind. So they next move on to rather their next stage in life, which is their pre-teenage years, and they are encouraged to sow their wild oats in their teenage years, their adolescent years when they're over in college. They, partying and pursuing as many women as they can. Then they become adults. hmm And then they're told that they need to be successful. They need to become heads of their families, get married, have a family, be the breadwinner, make money at all costs, be a man. These traits that they've heard all their lives are what they believe makes them a man. So what type of a role model do they have? Who is who is strong? One that's strong, built with a six pack, basketball players, football players, rappers with money, gold, jewelry, and lots of women and fast cars. These are the role models. These are what they look at, they look up to. So they view them as the epitome of success and power. And these represent with this representation, what is the young man should strive to become. Young men are often pushed down to the route of sports that causes an intense amount of pressure. If you are nagging the boy about playing ball, go practice, go run track, go play the football. If you're doing that all the time, that's pressure. But because he's pressed down and he's bottled up so many things, he don't feel comfortable enough telling you, I don't really want to do that. Being a Shaq or a Kobe is considered an important part of being a man. You want to be big, you want to be manly. But what happens when the boy deviates from the expectations and he decides to invest in music or the arts or fashion or design, culinary, or even drama or dance? Then he is called or viewed as unmasculine. And some of you probably can think of a whole lot of more words that they're called, but we're going to stick with unmasculine. Boys don't dance or make dresses, really. While boys are encouraged to drink, binge drink at that, uh-huh, have sexual conquests with the old adage that boys will be boys. These things are morally wrong, but boys will be boys is supposed to justify the wrongdoing actions. The myth that a boy is to become a man must live a loud, drunken, with sexual promiscuity, beer drinking, joint blunt smoking, all of that. Boy to become a man is simply ludicrous. It don't take all that for the boy to become a man. And oftentimes they are bullied. Yeah. And a lot of times, and it's not necessarily outside of the home that they're bullied. Yeah, for those of you that watched Empire, take your mind back. Not always outside the home. They don't, these people don't, these men or boys don't want to fight, nor do they want to have unprotected sex with women that they don't know nothing about. Our society has placed upon the males that the way to become a man depends solely on all the above mentioned things. And I'm here to tell you right here and now, it's wrong. The fact of the matter really is that by the age of 12, 34% of boys have started drinking by the age of 12. And by 13, some have even tried drugs. Why is it that it is that expected among boys during their adolescent years? Why do we expect that out of them? Who expects that out of a child? When they don't act this way, they are put down and shamed. So we go back to boys don't cry, so and raised and not show emotions. They're raised like that. Don't show no emotion because you don't cry. This creates what? A falsehood that boys who are emotional are called names and never shown any affection or no one comforts them. Remember when little Johnny fell on the playground? He wasn't comforted. He was told, get up, dust yourself off, and go on back out there and play call. Boys don't cry. This gives him a false notion that he's wrong. If he wants anything out of the ram or he feeling some other kind of way, he's been taught I'm wrong. So then instead of trying to express himself, he shuts it down. In order for a man to simply talk about his feelings is frowned upon, which then becomes harmful to the man's emotional growth. Mm, yeah. Well, Miss Waters, what is emotional growth or emotional development? It simply means how children or boys start to understand who they are and what they're feeling. It's the development of being able to form and sustain positive relationships, experience, manage, and most of all, express emotions. In other words, your feelings. How many women listening here today have heard or said, he is so closed off? He's closed off because he never developed emotionally. Women, if your man If your men, rather, are experiencing any of the following things I'm getting ready to read off this list here that I found, is a sign of emotional immaturity. Won't go deep with you. Mm-mm. No. Everything is about him. If your head hurt, his hurt hard. Become defensive. Don't ask no questions now. Have commitment issues. Won't own his own mistakes. And this one is the good one. You feel more alone than ever. This means he's emotionally immature. Remember, they have to be taught that they have been taught rather that bottling up their emotions are what men do. Therefore, they deal with emotions in a more physical way that results in violent behavior. Yeah, think about that for a minute. So now we have emotional immature men who won't seek help for depression or any other mental illness. That's why we see them walking around in the wintertime with no shoes on or no clothes on or whatever, because mentally they were never prepared to deal with what's inside of them, and then they become broken. And once they become broken, their mind is all distorted. So it's a process to this. And we spend our time encouraging our children that boys don't cry. But are you aware that the third leading cause of death among boys is suicide? Boys between the ages of 10 and 12 are more likely to commit suicide than girls. And boys 15 to 17 are 5 times more likely to commit suicide. Ages 20 to 24 are 7 times more likely to commit suicide. Boys or men will often ignore their feelings. This leads them to having it hard to understand themselves and those around them. Men should be taught to express their emotions in order to improve their mental health and their relationships. What men are told that when men are told that they are not manly or not macho enough to protect themselves or to prevent an assault or from being attacked sexually, yes, men are raped too. According to RAINN, RAINN.org, 1 out of every 10 rape victims are men. 1 in every 33 men have experienced an attempted or completed rape in their lifetime. My God. And remember, men don't tell. Why don't they tell? They have the shame and the fear the same as women do, that they will be disbelieved, will be ridiculed, they will be shamed, accused of being weak, ignored, or being even called gay. Men should be able to come forward with cases of sexual abuse, physical abuse, just as well as women are. And women, we know the repercussions of coming forward, but you got to be strong enough to do this. In colleges, we see and we hear of hazing with various types of abuse, all while it's called pledging. Some of them even end in death. So the old adage of boys will be boys will no longer suffice in today's society. Where do men go to hide when they're hiding? When they got their mask on and they're hiding from themselves and their feelings. They go to bars. They overdrink when they get there. They go to barber shops to gossip or just hang out. They go lodges where women are not allowed. They go to pool halls, hanging with others that are hiding. Strip clubs where it's dark and no one really knows who their true identity is. They go to garages and man caves to just be alone, away from the wife and the kids. This is really not just being exclusionary behavior, and more it's more of having emotional immaturity and a social anxiety. brought on by the lack of dealing with their true emotions. And can you understand or see how this could possibly go back to the playground? Men that are in the lack of dealing with their own true emotions are afraid of their own emotions and are in need of understanding what God's word has to say about emotions. King David, the little shepherd boy, he became a manly man. But remember, he started off as a shepherd boy. Now we took a look at, let me go, come on, go with me to take a look at the life and the examples of King David's life. We all see him as a master planner. You know the story of David. We see him as a lover of women. You've heard about Bathsheba. He was a brother in arms, and David was a warrior. David also played the harp. Mm, he was gentle. This may not be looked upon as the manliest instrument. You know, I'm sure somebody, David playing a harp. Why ain't got no trumpet? Why ain't beating the drum? Played the harp because he knew who he was. He wrote extensive amounts of poetry. Oh, yeah, read the book of Psalms. David was a dancer. He was a gentle shepherd boy attending to the sheep. He was also he would also slew lions and bears. hmm And Goliath, the giant. When David was in distress, he had fear and he cried out to the Lord. Now you see this manly man that that take down bears and lions and ward on the front line. He cries out to God. Read Psalms written by David, and you'll see nearly every emotion that you can imagine shows up in the book of Psalms. David cried. David laughed. He was angry and he was afraid. Not at all afraid of his emotions, however. But being a man does not devoid men of emotions. Express your heart to God and to one another. Like David, he was man enough to be comfortable in expressing pain and sorrow. Men, know that you have valid emotions and it's all right to show them and still be a man. The next time you're told real men don't cry, remember the story of King David in the book of Psalms. Men, you are allowed to cry. You are allowed to laugh and you are allowed to be angry. Men just need to know that they are allowed their emotions and that God will direct your heart and soul just as David spoke out of his heart. He was always loyal to the one true God. God always valued your emotions, not your toxic masculinity. As in 1 Peter 1 and 13, prepare your mind for action and being sober minded, set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. God designed all of us, men too, for our emotions to be gauges, not guides. They are meant to report to you, not dictate you. Do not allow toxic masculinity as a culture to pressure you into suppressing your emotions. It's important to see Jesus and embody God's original design for how human beings, women and men, should live and acceptable and accepting every fiber of the intention that God has for our emotions. There is no thing too hard for God. Those secret things that you're buried and that you're not sure if you want anyone else to know, take them to God. Clear your emotions so that you'll be able to feel His love on the inside of you. Your heart will melt into His if you just give Him a try. Well, it's about time to go. And I certainly want to say to you, as we leave this place, that we will see you again at the next broadcast. And until then, know it's okay for you to cry.